And for a change, we're not actually in Glastonbury today. We're not on the side of the Tor in the Avalon Orchard. We're actually at a secret location which is in the very centre of the Glastonbury Zodiac. Now, if you haven't heard of the Glastonbury Zodiac, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it's gigantic figures all around the Avalon, the Glastonbury area, in the landscape, part of the landscape, in a circle about 10 miles diameter, I think. And each sign represents the astrological figures. You're the astrologer, Carolina, am I right?
Yes, that is exactly correct. The 12 astrological figures are reflected or shown in the landscape around Avalon.
Okay. And I think they were discovered or rediscovered by a lady called Catherine Maltwood in the early part of the 20th century, and she had a book published in 1935 which is called Glastonbury Temple of the Stars. So this is where we are. We're right in the very centre, and we've come here today because in this wood there's a small grove of yew trees, and as you can see, one of the beautiful trees is just behind us here. And the reason we've come to be with these yew trees today is because we're talking about the rune Eiwaz, which is the rune of the yew tree. So the time period for this half month started on the 28th of December and is going to run until the 12th of January. So we're just past the peak of this rune's power. So the yew tree is Yggdrasil. I know there's some people say it's the ash tree, but it is, you know, the descriptions of it is a yew tree. And one of the names for the yew tree was needle ash. So that's where the ash association comes from. But this is the world tree. This is Irminsul in Anglo-Saxon. This is the cosmic axis which links the upper worlds with the lower worlds. Now it comes as number 13, which obviously has associations with being unlucky and has associations with death. So yes, this is the rune of death, of life, and of rebirth. And really, to understand that, we need to look at the properties of this wonderful tree, this amazing yew tree. I really can't impress upon you enough just how prominent the yew tree was in early spirituality. But we'll talk about that. I won't try not to go on too much because I could talk about this for a long time, but I'll try not to. So this rune can be associated with Svartalfheim, which is the home of the dark elves or the dwarves, harsh beings in mythology but very vital to magic. And I spoke about the 9 soul forms that we humans have last time, and this rune can be associated with the Harma, which is basically the form that we take, and experienced magicians, sorcerers, witches, shamans are able to alter the shape of their Harma, and this is obviously where we get shape shifting and through trance, and this is very much a rune about trance. So that this is the rune of the shaman. This is the rune. It's life, it's death, it's rebirth. It's one of my favourite runes, I have to say, if you have favourites, and it is actually my birth rune, so I kind of have a special association with this rune, I feel. So the yew tree, Taxus baccata, its earliest known name is a Hittite word which is Aya, and that means to be touched by eternity. Oh, we have woodpeckers. So just think about that. That is to be touched by eternity. That just sums up the importance of this tree to early spiritualities. The yew has great power, which was recognised by our early ancestors. As time went on, that power was coveted by later spiritualities. So you see links to yew tree in Christianity, and the name Jehovah has linguistic links to the yew tree. The Templars knew of its power, and they they did various rituals to lock their souls, to bind their souls to the yew tree, presumably to get eternal life, and that can be seen in Old Pentland Kirkyard up in Scotland. It's sometimes known as the God Tree. So it features prominently in both Celtic and Norse mythology. There's many place names all around Britain which are associated with the yew, such as Ewdon, Ewhurst, Ullapool, Ullswater, and Iona actually means island of the yew tree. Eboracum, which is the Roman name for York, which obviously went on to be a prominent town for the Vikings. That means yew town. And it's interesting to note, as I was saying about later spiritualities coveting the power of the yew, the Archbishop of York since the 7th century has signed his official name as Ebor, which means man of yew. So, this is something you could talk about all day, but just to let you know that this is an extremely powerful tree in spirituality and has been recognised as such throughout many ages. So the tree has barely changed in 250 million years. So I'm going to blow my nose, it's cold today. But just consider that, 250 million years, this tree has barely changed. It basically holds on to an embryonic form of the tree. It hasn't changed, it hasn't needed to change. You can't even comprehend what 250 million years is, but it's quite, it is an amazing tree, and it has amazing longevity. There are many examples of this tree throughout Britain and probably other countries. Europe, it grows it kind of grows along the coal seams. That's where it tends to be distributed. But these trees can live for thousands of years, and it's very difficult to date them. So the ones that we know are at least 4,000 years could in fact be much, much older. And what the tree will do, it will sometimes look like it's dying. The yew tree will always, its strategy is always to make itself hollow. Through making itself hollow, it makes itself stronger, as any engineer will tell you. But I feel that by doing that, it emphasises its role as a portal, because that's what this tree is. Through it being Yggdrasil, it is the means to travel to any of the 9 worlds. It is that portal used to travel between the worlds. And sometimes, because it actually does look like it's bleeding sometimes, it's known as the bleeding tree, and it's called iron wood. And when I heard that, I instantly thought of like the iron wood in Norse mythology. So, it's linked into so much mythology, it has great importance, which modern people have forgotten about, but it's, it is an amazing tree, and this is an amazing rune. When we have done drumming with this rune, we've had some truly amazing experiences. When we did it last year, we want to freak people out, but we were basically possessed, weren't we? By, I felt, long dead sorceresses. There was a lot of crone energy around, and when we drummed this rune a couple of nights ago,
It felt very trance-like.
Very trance-like. I actually felt like I was slipping under. I was losing the ability to actually speak. This is this rune has strong properties of trance, and it is, as I said, it's the shaman's rune. And the shape of it links life and death. It is that cosmic access, and I dare say in other cultures it could be looked upon as the Kundalini energy. I'm not going to claim to know anything about that because I don't, but but I think with Kundalini, isn't it to do with linking the feminine and the masculine?
Yeah, it's all about connection, isn't it?
Yeah,
which seems to be the running theme of the rune and the yew trees, is connecting different worlds, different realms, different realities, and that's kind of the main theme of it, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And a lot of people, if you read books, it will say that this rune is a masculine rune, and it represents the phallic. shadowy figure, not discussed much by Snorri in the Prose Edda. Very likely that he was a very ancient god connected with the Vanir, and what's been written about him links him with being a hunter god of the winter, with a bow. Yeah, and of course yew trees, you know, they were almost decimated in the Middle Ages because they were being chopped down in their thousands to make longbows, because their wood is both very strong and very flexible, and that is one of the energies of, you know, of this rune. This is a rune of light and dark. The animal, the bird associated with it is the crow. Now, a crow is, you know, a spirit animal, a bird that I work with very closely, and I feel that one of the crow's powers is helping you to access your shadow aspects, and that is one of the qualities of this rune. You know, it's light and dark, it's connecting life and death. You know, it's the ultimate portal to journey to other lands, to other worlds. So it talks about mental toughness, and also flexibility like the wood. It can be used to gather support, and I did actually feel that when we were drumming. I kind of felt that support coming in. I don't know if you felt that at all, Carolina, but that was a kind of an energy that I did feel. So this is the rune of initiation and transformation. You know, this rune kind of feels quite personal to me, because in my family there's a lot of birthdays during the Eiwaz time of year, and also around this time of year, my nana, her birthday was the 12th of January, which is the last day of this rune's power, but she also died on the 18th of January last year. And you know, this is a cold time of year. You know, let's link it back to the seasons. You know, this is the time of year that does still, and would have done, and you know, killed off a lot of old or infirm people at this time of year, because just after you've gone past Yule, it does tend to get very cold, and that is a time of year where you do see a lot of death. And of course, this is the rune of death, but within that death there is rebirth, there is new life. I mean, yew trees can regenerate. They grow, their branches grow down, and this is reflected in the shape of the rune, which I've unfortunately left in my bag. But the rune, the tree will grow its branches down to the ground, and then they will then become new trees. You know, and sometimes you'll see an old yew tree which you think is dead, and then a new shoot will come up. You know, it's like it has the power of that internal flame, that fire.
In fact, you can see new shoots coming off the main big branches as well. You probably can't see it here, but there is another big tree over in that way, and it has got really new green young shoots, which then again speaks about power of regeneration and transformation. So it's never really dead, or gone. It's continually growing.
It's very resilient. You know, it would take a lot to kill a yew tree. It's particularly resilient even to pollution. You know, this is a wonderful tree with deep spirituality. Got a little robin's come to see us. Anyway, I have gone on long enough about this rune. Over to you, Caroline.
Okay, well, as always, I'm here to talk a little bit about the astrology of today. And it will come as no surprise to you to know that the astrology happening today is extremely linked to what Shæryn has been talking about: death, rebirth and transformation. So can you guess who I'm going to be talking about?
I know, so I won't say.
Okay, today we have the annual conjunction of the Sun and Pluto. And it's exact today, which is really significant for us to come here to a Yew Grove and talk about death, transformation, rebirth, when Pluto, the archetype of those processes, links with the Sun today, which is your individuality, your personality. So it's you. So through this conjunction today, there is great potential for transformation and for healing. And as you know, healing sometimes is not easy. Healing can be quite painful, can take a lot of time, but once the process is done or completed, you are regenerated, you are different. So there is, a new sense of empowerment. There is a new sense of renewed life. So even though the Plutonian energy can be quite harsh and really tough and hard, it's a process that we must go through in order to get acquainted with our shadow. That's one of the main aspects of working with Pluto, that you get acquainted with the shadow side of yourself, which is not the easiest side to work with, but it's something that we all have, light and shadow. And through getting acquainted with it or working with it, then there is so much transformation and healing that can happen from that process. And this is what we're working with today. And tomorrow. It's usually a span of a couple of days when we have yearly conjunctions, and the sun travels 1 degree per day, which means that tomorrow it will have moved on a little bit more, but the energy is still there, very strong.
So this particular year, this is a really potent time to be working with those shadow aspects, because we've got the peak of Eiwaz, and we've got this conjunction with Pluto all happening at the same time.
All happening at the same time, yes. And if we go with the cyclical nature of things, we know that things don't just happen one day and then that's it. It's all done. So it's the beginning of a journey, which is very much what happens when we travel between worlds. And Pluto is known as the Lord of the Underworld. So it's that journey that we go through the underworld, and we come out at the other end much wiser, perhaps a bit battered and a bit bruised, but with all the tools that we need to be able to carry on and continue. Pluto rules death and transformation, not physical death as we know it, but the death that we have to undergo if we want to change, if we want things to be different. And I would say as well, if you're having particularly powerful Pluto transits, just go with the process, go with it. Pluto energy is not something that we can ignore or that we can get rid of, because it makes us go through that experience. It's something that our souls need in order to transform. So go with it. You will feel so much more empowered at the end of it. And it is hard, it is really difficult, and it's harsh.
Almost like a shamanic initiation.
Pluto is the shaman, yes, absolutely. So, any states of, altered states of consciousness, shape-shifting, traveling between worlds, receiving messages, that's all ruled by Pluto.
Okay, and can I just pass in? Because I just suddenly thought, one thing I didn't mention about the yew tree is that every part of it is poison, apart from the arrows, the red part. The seed is deadly poison, 2 will kill a horse, but the actual red arrow, which could be associated with apples, which, Isle of Apples, I'm not sure, lots of research needed, but you can eat that part, and it's actually very tasty. Just be careful when you eat it, you don't swallow the seeds. But if you, the old shamans, it's said that they would sit in a yew grove. Now I've heard that it's either summer or winter, but the trees emit a kind of a gas that can help you, puts you into a trance. It's like gives you
like hallucinogenic experience.
So it's also linked, isn't it?
Yes, and also to bring Capricorn into it, because I know Shæryn mentioned this a little bit. Capricorn is if you look at the glyph for Capricorn, it's represented by the sea goat. So it's the top half of the glyph is the goat, mountain goat, and then the bottom half is a fishtail.
Yeah.
And that again, that represents that connection between worlds. It's being firmly planted on the ground and having all those aims and hard working objectives in sight. But it's also being connected to the sea, which represents healing. It represents memories and emotions and intuition. So even sometimes Capricorn gets there's the Robin again. Capricorn gets quite a harsh, undeserved reputation sometimes, I feel, of being quite, I don't know,
unemotional, cold.
Unemotional, cold, detached, but it's not really like that. Capricorn people are extremely sensitive, extremely intuitive, and and I've got my moon in Capricorn. Shæryn, of course, has got her sun in Capricorn, so that's why we bounce off each other quite well. We complement each other, sun and moon. So there is that extreme deep connection with both the land and the emotions and feelings, intuition. So all round, it's a really lovely time of the year. I feel there is a lot of transformation and learning experiences to be had, and that all helps us grow, I feel. So make the most of the conjunction between the Sun and Pluto today. A little word of warning though, when we have such strong energy at play, sometimes there could be power struggles, inner struggles, but also they can manifest on the outside. You can have, I don't know, a kind of a disagreement with someone.
I had one of those this morning with my daughter.
Right. Yeah.
6 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, so Pluto is about struggling, it's about gaining power. So yeah, a little word of advice with that. Work with that energy. Perhaps don't kind of react to it, but observe, reflect, and take from it what you need in order to grow and for self-empowerment as well. Remember that Mercury is going direct on Sunday, the 8th of January. So again, things are going to start moving, and everything that we put on hold over the Yule period, projects, if you were kind of doing research or getting your creative juices flowing, then that's all going to start moving again.
Excellent. That's what I need. Right.
Yeah, so I think I have gone on
let's
long
drum.
enough as well.
Let's drum. Let's get the drum.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of life here today as well. We came to this location a year ago around this time, and it was so quiet. There's lots of birds around today,
silent, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's all great.
Right, I have the drum. Oh, and a woodpecker. You ready? Ready? stop. I felt I was being sucked into a portal.
Yes, there's always something that happens to our voices. I don't know if you feel the same. Your voice kind of changes. Mine went a bit croaky.
Yeah, that happened to me the other time, didn't it?
Yeah, I felt a bit out of breath towards the end of it. So it's a Galdr that you really need to sit down and experience fully because it's so powerful.
It's a powerful one. I mean, when we did it on the tour the other night, I had to stop because I was actually losing the ability to speak. I was just slipping so far into a trance. It's a powerful one for sure, and I recommend you get out there and try it. Just a word on the pronunciation. It's obviously very difficult to know how these runes are pronounced, and I'm still haven't completely hung my hat on the pronunciation of Eiwaz. Part of me thinks it might be Eiwaz. I'm not absolutely sure. Just the word Aya, that early Hittite word, but it's one of those difficult things. But we've certainly had very good results with Eiwaz. So
again, you have to do what feels right for you as well. There is an element of connection and intuition as well, and that's what's so great about the runes, that you experience their energy in a very personal way, and you connect to it in a way that no other person can connect to in the same way. Although we do get very similar experiences all the time. So.
We do. Anyway, we're going to leave you now with this wonderful yew tree, and we're drawn down. And yes, indeed, we are in fact tree huggers. So,
so we'll leave you with this wonderful yew tree, and we'll see you next time.
Again.
Bye.
Bye.